Hey there everyone, Ramesh here. Welcome to Thymeleaf tutorial for beginners crash course 2021. So this tutorial is meant for beginners, and in this Thymeleaf tutorial I'm going to cover Thymeleaf core basics and fundamentals and how you can integrate Thymeleaf in Spring Boot applications. Alright guys, we will learn a lot about Thymeleaf in this video. So without further ado, let's get started. What you will learn in this crash course. So you will learn what exactly Thymeleaf is and what kind of templates can Thymeleaf process and what is Thymeleaf template, and we'll see one example for Thymeleaf template, and we'll see how Thymeleaf engine works and where is a Thymeleaf template get processed, and we'll create a Spring Boot project and we'll see how to integrate a Thymeleaf in Spring Boot application, and we'll see how to use Thymeleaf in Spring Boot project, and we'll also see how to add CSS and JS files to Thymeleaf template, and we'll see how to add and use Bootstrap CSS library to Thymeleaf template, and we'll also see how to loop or iterate objects in Thymeleaf, and we'll see the Thymeleaf conditionals like if, unless and switch case statement. Alright guys, so these are the topics I'm going to cover in this video. As a beginner, at the end of this video you will learn how to use Thymeleaf in Spring projects and Thymeleaf core basics and fundamentals. Alright guys, without further ado, let's begin with what is Thymeleaf. What is Thymeleaf? Well, a Thymeleaf is modern server-side Java template engine for both web and standalone environments capable of processing HTML, XML, JavaScript, CSS and even plain text. Okay, so Thymeleaf template engine is not only related to HTML, but we can use Thymeleaf template engine to process HTML, XML, JavaScript, CSS and even plain text. Okay. Thymeleaf is commonly used to generate HTML views for web applications. If you already worked on Spring MVC, then you might heard about Thymeleaf template engine, right? So Thymeleaf is commonly used with Spring MVC to develop web applications. Alright, in this video tutorial series, we're gonna use Spring Boot and Spring MVC to create web apps and to demonstrate Thymeleaf template engine concepts. Okay. Great. Now the question is, what kind of templates can Thymeleaf process? Alright, out of the box, Thymeleaf allows you to process 6 kinds of templates. Look at here, these are the 6 templates the Thymeleaf can process: HTML, XML, text, JavaScript, CSS and raw. Raw means plain text. Okay. What is Thymeleaf template? Well, a Thymeleaf template can be HTML page with some Thymeleaf expressions. It can also include dynamic content from Thymeleaf expressions. For example, look at here, this is the HTML page. HTML page has HTML tags along with that Thymeleaf expressions. So we use Thymeleaf expressions to access Java code, objects and Spring Beans. Alright, for example, look at here the code snippet. This is the HTML page, and this page has HTML tags and Thymeleaf expressions to access Java objects. And look at here, we use Thymeleaf expressions to access Spring Beans. So this is a Spring security attribute that is provided by Thymeleaf to access Spring Bean objects. Alright, great. So we'll create lots of examples in this video tutorial series to understand Thymeleaf concepts, Thymeleaf expressions, a lot of things. Alright, great. Now let us take a look at Thymeleaf Engine. So Thymeleaf Engine will parse Thymeleaf template. It uses Java model data to replace the positions marked on Thymeleaf template to create a new text in the HTML page. For example, look at here, this is a person Java class. It has first name, last name, instance variables, and let us say if we have a list of person objects and that we want to show on Thymeleaf template. So look at here, this is the piece of code. So we use th:(each Thymeleaf attribute to iterate over a list of person objects in Thymeleaf template. and we use Thymeleaf expression to access Java objects, Spring Beans, etc. And we want to dynamically change the data. So for that we are going to use Thymeleaf expressions. Now the Thymeleaf engine will basically parse a Thymeleaf template, and it will replace all the Thymeleaf expressions with new text in a HTML page. For example, this is the piece of code that iterate over a list of person objects using Thymeleaf expressions and attributes, and this code will be replaced with a new text in a HTML page by Thymeleaf Engine. So Thymeleaf Engine will basically pass a Thymeleaf template, and it will insert a new text in a HTML page based on the Thymeleaf expression or Thymeleaf code that we have used in a Thymeleaf template. Alright, this is how Thymeleaf Engine works. So just remember, Thymeleaf Engine will pass a Thymeleaf template, and it uses Java model data to replace positions to create a new text in a HTML page. Alright, great. Now the question is, where Thymeleaf template processed? Alright, in typical web applications, Thymeleaf is processed on server side. Alright, and server returns HTML page, and that will be again rendered on a browser. For example, look at here, this is Spring MUC web application. So basically, when we hit a link in a browser, the request first comes to the controller. So this is a Spring MUC controller. So controller will basically process the request, and it will create a model with data, and then it will return a view. So that is HTML page or Thymeleaf template engine, and Thymeleaf template engine will be again rendered on a browser with the model data. Alright, great. So this is a typical flow in a Spring MUC web applications, and basically Spring MUC controller returns a view, that is Thymeleaf template, and that will be again rendered on a browser. We quickly create a HelloWorld application. Basically, we use Spring Boot to quickly create Spring MUC web application with Thymeleaf template engine. Alright, let's get started. We're gonna use Eclipse STS IDE to develop our Spring MUC web application with Thymeleaf. So in Eclipse IDE, go to the file, new, and then choose Spring Starter project. So this is a Spring initializer website which is integrated in Eclipse STS IDE to quickly create Spring Boot projects. Alright, so let's give a name to the project. Let us say Thymeleaf HelloWorld, or we can just create a common project like Thymeleaf Spring Boot tutorial, something like this, and then keep type as a Maven, and packaging jar, Java version 8, language Java, and group ID net.java guides, and artifact ID is going to be our project name, and description, and then package. Alright, once you are happy with the details, click next, and here we're going to choose Spring Boot starter dependencies. So we are going to develop Spring MUC controllers. For that we are going to use Spring Web Starter dependency. So we use Spring Web Starter dependency to build web applications as well as RESTful web services. Okay, and Spring Web Starter dependency internally uses Spring MUC libraries. Along with that, Apache Tomcat as a default embedded container. And we can also use Thymeleaf, right? So let's choose Thymeleaf starter dependency. So these are the two dependencies are enough to create our simple Spring MUC web application, and hit finish. Alright, so look at here, Spring Boot project is created. Alright, so open pom.xml file, and look at here, the two dependencies are added. One is Spring Boot starter Thymeleaf, and another is Spring Boot starter web dependency. Okay, now let's quickly create a Spring MUC controller. So go to the package here, main package, right click on package, new, and then choose class, and let's name this class as HelloWorld controller. Alright, and let's make this class as a Spring MVC controller by annotating @controller annotation, and let's quickly create a handler method which will just return a Thymeleaf template. Let's give a method name as hello, and this returns a Thymeleaf template called hello world. Okay, great. And let's annotate this handler method with @get mapping annotation. So this will basically handle HTTP GET request, and let's give a request URL as hello. Now we're gonna return some data to the view, right? For that we're gonna use a model here, and we simply add some data to the model. Let's use add attribute method, and here just give key as message and value as something like hello world. Okay, so this is our simple method handler. Okay, so it returns the hello world Thymeleaf template, and this Thymeleaf template we're going to create right now. So look at here the folder structure. Here is a resource folder, under that static folder and templates folder. And whenever Spring Boot finds Thymeleaf starter dependency on a class path, then Spring Boot will automatically configure a view resolver for Thymeleaf templates. We no need to explicitly add view resolver for Thymeleaf. Okay, and inside a static folder we basically create a static resources such as CSS and JS and images. So we keep JS files, CSS files and images under static folder, and inside a templates folder we keep all our Thymeleaf templates. Okay, and this is the default structure provided by Spring Boot to process templates and static resources. Alright, let's right click on templates folder, new, and then choose file, that is HTML file, and let's call it as helloworld.html. Alright guys, so this is our Thymeleaf template. Let's go ahead and let's design it. Let's replace title with hello world app. Let's call it as Thymeleaf hello world app. Okay, it makes sense. So let's add Thymeleaf hello world app, and now we simply print a message that we have added to the model. Okay, we simply print this message in a HTML page. So in order to access this message we're gonna use Thymeleaf expression. Okay, so let me copy this message key, and we're gonna use this key in a HTML page using Thymeleaf expression. So here I will use h1 tag, and inside that th colon text, and look at here the syntax. Let me give some text here, Thymeleaf space plus, and this is the Thymeleaf variable expression to access Java variables, and then plus, and here I say app. Okay, so this prints Thymeleaf hello world app. So message means hello world, right? So that we have given a value to the message here, hello world. Alright, now you can notice here this gives a warning like undefined attribute name. So we need to add a Thymeleaf link here inside a HTML element. So look at here, XML ns colon th, and then this is the official website of Thymeleaf template engine. Okay, so look at here, the warning is disappeared. Okay, so this is the basic very simple Thymeleaf template. We just use a Thymeleaf variable expression to access Java variable here, and this displays basically hello world value that comes from the controller. Alright, let's quickly run Spring Boot project and let us see how it works. Okay, great. So look at here, Spring Boot project is up and running on default Tomcat container running on port 8080. Now let's open a browser and let's access HelloWorld template page. In a browser, just type localhost 8080/hello and hit enter. So look at here, Thymeleaf HelloWorld app. So HelloWorld is basically a model data that we have printed on a HTML page using Thymeleaf expression. Alright guys, this is a very simple HelloWorld Thymeleaf application with Spring Boot. We will see how to add custom CSS and JS files to Thymeleaf HTML template. Alright, so look at here, this is a resource folder. Under resource folder we have static folder and templates folder. So this is the Spring Boot provided default structure for templates and static resources. Alright, so by default Spring Boot will look for static resources under static folder. So we keep all the static resources under static folders such as CSS files, JS files, images, so on. Okay, now what we'll do, we'll create a subfolder under static folder. Right click, new one, choose folder, and let's call it as CSS. And again right click on static folder, new one, create one more folder, let's name it as JS. Okay, now what we'll do, we'll create a simple CSS file and let's name it as main.css. okay, and again we create a simple JavaScript file. Right click on JS folder, new one, then choose file, and then let's give a name as actions.js. okay, so in a main.css file, let me quickly add some CSS. So look at here, for h2 HTML tag I have added some CSS. For strong HTML element I have added some CSS, and for this HTML element I have added some CSS. We're gonna create a simple function, JavaScript function inside actions.js file. Function, let us say demo, and just alert the message like okay, Thymeleaf with CSS and JS demo, something like this, and save it. And under templates folder we're gonna create a new HTML file. Let's call it as add CSS JS demo.html. You can give any file name that you want. To demonstrate the concept I am going to give a name like this. So let's give a name as title as add CSS and JS to Thymeleaf. Okay, now the important step here is we have created a CSS file and JS file, right? We want to include CSS and JS files inside a Thymeleaf template. So this is an important step, so just notice here. So we're gonna use a link tag to include CSS file link, and then we use Thymeleaf attribute th colon href, and then we use at. So at basically we use to to provide a context path of our application, that is the root path. Okay, and here we provide a CSS folder name and then name of the file, that is main.css. okay, so remember the syntax. whenever you want to include CSS in a HTML template, then you need to provide a syntax like this. Okay, so at means it is a context path of our application. So this is the name of the folder, and this is a file inside a CSS folder. Okay, and again here attribute, it is style sheet. Okay, so this is how we basically add a CSS file to the Thymeleaf template. And then again we will add a JavaScript to the template. For that we're going to use script tag here, and then th src equals to @ and then this is the syntax, and then the folder name is JS, and then actions.js. okay, so look at here, the name of the JavaScript file is actions.js, and this is JS is a folder name. Okay, so this is the syntax to add JavaScript file in a Thymeleaf template. And again, in order to avoid this warning, we simply copy this link and we add to the HTML element as an attribute. Okay, now let's add a content to the body. So look at here, h1 tag, we have provided styles to h2 tag here inside our main.css. okay, and for strong and this p HTML tag, we have provided a CSS over here, and then it should apply to the HTML element inside this file. Okay, so let us see how the CSS will apply to HTML elements. And look at here, we have provided a button, so this will call a demo function which is implemented in actions.js file. Okay, all right, we haven't created a method handler to access this HTML page, so what we'll do, we'll simply create one more method handler. Let's copy this method handler, and here we provide a name, a request URL like style. Okay, and let us say the method name is style, and we simply return a HTML page. So HTML page name is add CSS JS demo. Okay, now let me run the Spring Boot project. Alright, now let me go to browser and just access this method handler. In a browser, just type localhost:8080/style. Yeah, here we go. So look at here, the CSS has applied to HTML element. So look at here, once I click on button, it will alert a message like Thymeleaf with CSS and JS demo. Alright, it means that we have successfully added JS file to the Thymeleaf template as well as CSS file to the Thymeleaf template. Alright, so look at here, the CSS are successfully applied to the HTML elements. Okay, great. So just remember this syntax, how to include or how to add CSS and JS files to the Thymeleaf template. Alright, now we're gonna see how to add Bootstrap CSS file to Thymeleaf template engine. Alright, so there are basically two ways. Either you can just add a CDN Bootstrap CSS link to the HTML page, or you can download a Bootstrap CSS library from the official website, and you can add library to the project, and you can just include part of the Bootstrap CSS file in a Thymeleaf template. So we're gonna see both the approaches. Alright, great. So let me quickly create Thymeleaf templates under templates folder. Right click on templates folder, new, and then choose other, and then HTML file, and let's give a file name as bootstrap or add bootstrap .html, something like this. Okay, just replace the title over here, and let's give title as add Bootstrap to Thymeleaf, something like this. Okay, and go to the browser, and in the browser just search for Bootstrap CSS CDN. Okay, something like this, and this is the official website of Bootstrap CSS framework. And just go down. So look at here, these are the CDN links. So these are the basically remote links you can quickly add and use Bootstrap CSS classes. So if you want to add CDN link, just you can copy this link and you can add in a header section of HTML page, paste it here like this. Okay, so this is how you can add a CDN link to your HTML page. The second way is, what you can do, you can just create a file, CSS file, something like this, bootstrap min.css. alright, and just copy this link and go back to the browser, and in the browser just hit this link and just copy this CSS content and open bootstrap min.css file and paste it here. Okay, so what we have done, we have created bootstrap.min.css file, and we have just copied content from official website and we have just added to the local bootstrap min.css file. Alright, you can also download the Bootstrap library. Just go to the official website and just click on download Bootstrap. It will download Bootstrap CSS libraries. Alright, so to keep it simple, I just hit this URL in a browser here, and just I copied the content of this file and I have added to the project. Now how to add this local bootstrap min.css file to the Thymeleaf HTML page. So look at here, so let me quickly remove this. So this is a link HTML element, and then th, and then href equals to at. So at is basically the context path of our application, and now give the folder name CSS and the file name is bootstrap.min.css, and again this is the attribute and it has style sheet. Okay, just save it. Now we have added a bootstrap file, a bootstrap library to our Thymeleaf HTML page. Now look at here, to avoid this warning, what I will do, I will simply copy this link and I will paste it here. Okay, so this basically, this is a Thymeleaf attribute. So this attribute basically reported from this official website. Okay, now we have seen how to add a Bootstrap CSS to Thymeleaf template page. Now let us see how to use Bootstrap CSS classes inside our HTML page. Okay, in a body just create a div and let's use container CSS class. Inside a div create one more div. Now what we'll do, we'll quickly create a table, HTML table, and inside a table we'll create a table header. Alright, after table header we're going to create table body and go to the table header. Inside table header create a row, and inside a row let's quickly create header th, and here let's give a table header name as employee first name. Copy this and let us say employee last name and employee email. Alright, go to the table body, create a row, and here create a data inside a table. So let us say the employee first name is something like Ramesh. Alright, let me copy this tag quickly, and this is Fadtare, and this is email. Alright, create a method handler, right? So let me quickly copy this handler method, and let's give a URL like Bootstrap, and this returns a template add Bootstrap, and let's change a method name like Bootstrap. Okay, so to demonstrate how to use Bootstrap CSS classes and how to add Bootstrap library to Thymeleaf template engine, I just created this Thymeleaf template, and this is a method handler to access this Thymeleaf template. So this is the HTML page you can find here. Save it. Let's run the Spring Boot project and let us see the demo. Alright, let's access this method handler from the browser. Let me copy this link. In the browser, just type localhost 8080/bootstrap. Yeah, here we go. So look at your Bootstrap CSS are successfully applied to the HTML page. Okay, great. Okay, so look at here, we have used Bootstrap CSS class, that is container, row, and these are the Bootstrap provided CSS classes. Okay, great. We'll take a look at how we can perform iteration with Thymeleaf along with some other features provided by Thymeleaf library. Alright, we are going to take a look at each attribute. So we use this attribute to iterate over a list or array or any other objects that Thymeleaf supports. Alright, in Thymeleaf, the iteration is achieved by using each attribute. Okay, one of the interesting things about this attribute is that it will accept and iterate over some different data types such as objects implements iterable interface, objects implements map interface, and arrays, and any other object is treated as if it is where a single valued list containing one element. Alright, so we can use each attribute to iterate over these kind of different data types. Okay, we'll see this usage of this attribute in action a bit later. So look at here, this is simple example of each attribute. Here we are iterating over a list of employees by using each attribute, and here we are basically just accessing a module attribute such as first name, last name, email. Okay, we'll see this example in action a bit later. So status variable. Thymeleaf also enables a useful mechanism to keep track of iteration process via status variable. So sometimes we want to get an index of an element in a list, or we need to count a number of elements in a list, or we need to retrieve a size of the list. So basically Thymeleaf provides a status variables to retrieve this kind of data. For example, the status variable provides following properties: index. So index we can use to get a current iteration index starting with 0. We can use count property to get a number of elements processed so far, and we can use size property to count a total number of elements in a list, and we can use even or odd property to check if the current iteration index is even or odd, and we can use first attribute to check if the current iteration is first one, and last property we use to check if the current iteration is last one. So these are the useful properties we can use with th colon each attribute. Let's understand more about th colon each attribute with an example. Let me switch to the Eclipse IDE and let us understand more about iteration in Thymeleaf. Now let's understand how to use th colon each attribute to iterate over a list of elements in a Thymeleaf. So look at here, I have created iteration.html page. So this is the HTML page, and this is basically a table. Inside a table we are iterating over a list of employees using th colon each attribute. So this is the attribute which is provided by Thymeleaf, and here we are just accessing a model attributes such as first name, last name, email address using $curly braces notation. So this is the syntax to access variables in Thymeleaf. Alright, so basically first we need to create a method handler in Spring MVC controller. For example, we have created first employee class. It has first name, last name, email address, and here are the getter setter methods to access these private fields and constructor. And then we have created employee controller, and inside the employee controller we have created a method handler which will simply return a iteration template, and this iteration we have created over here inside a templates folder. Alright, so here inside method handler we have created a list of employees, and we have added this list of employee objects to the model, and this model will be again rendered in a Thymeleaf template. Okay, so let's just have a look into this template here. Alright, and this is the first row in a table, and this is the second row. So in a second row, look at here, we are using status variables. So this is the employee stat, so we can use this status variable to access odd attribute. So here just applying a condition like if the count is odd, then we can just style our row in a bold, and if the count is even, then we simply return even, or we simply return odd. Okay, so pretty simple status variables we can use whenever we do iteration in Thymeleaf. Even you can use index or count status variables. Alright, great. So to simply demonstrate the usage of th colon each attribute, I have created this example. Let's run the Spring Boot project and let us see the demo. Alright, I have already started Spring Boot project, so let's go back to the browser and let's access this link, that is iteration. In a browser, just type localhost 8080 and then slash and then iteration, hit enter. So look at here, we are successfully able to iterate over a list of employees using th colon each attribute. If the row is odd, then we just add style to the row. Okay, it's pretty simple example. I hope you understood how to iterate in a Thymeleaf. So you can use the th colon each attribute to iterate over an array or any other objects which implements iterable interface, and the objects implements map, arrays. Okay, and any other object is treated as if it is a single valued list containing one element. So you can use th colon attribute to iterate over these different data types. Alright guys, I hope you understood how to iterate in a Thymeleaf. We are going to have a look at different types of conditionals available in Thymeleaf. So we are going to mainly look into if, unless and switch case attributes. So as we know that in Java we use if, else, switch case statements to perform different conditions, right? So similarly in Thymeleaf also provides if, unless and switch case attributes to perform conditionals. Let's begin with if and unless attributes. If and unless attributes allows us to render an HTML element depends on provided condition. So in some situations we need to render a portion of HTML template based on some conditions, right? In that case we can use th:\if condition, and th:\unless attribute is basically a negativeness of if attribute. Okay, let us see. So this is a simple example. So look at here the code snippet. We have a list of users and we are using th:\each attribute to iterate over a list of users. And here look at here the code which is colored with red mark. th:\if. So if user role is admin, then the system allows to update the user. Okay, and again if user role is admin, then only system will allow to delete the user, unless it will allow all the users apart from admin role to view the user. So look at here, unless is just a negativeness of if condition. Okay, so the users who don't have role admin can view this particular user. Alright, so this is a very simple example. So here we are just displaying the button. The user who have admin role can see the update button, and also the user who have admin role can see the delete button, and apart from admin all the users can see a view button, but the user which don't have admin role do not see these buttons. Okay, here just we have added if condition to display buttons over here. It's pretty simple example. We will see this example in action a bit later in Eclipse IDE. Now let's take a look at switch case condition. If you are familiar with switch case condition in Java, then similar structure Thymeleaf also provides for switch case condition. Okay, if there are more than two possible results of an expression, then we can use switch and case attributes for conditional rendering of HTML elements. So let's take a look at here the example. Here we are using switch attribute, and if user role is admin, then we can display this text, okay, this paragraph. And if user role is manager, then we can just display user is a manager paragraph. If user role is guest, then we can display user is a guest paragraph. If there is a no match found, then it will display a default condition. Okay, user is some other thing. Alright, so this is a simple and straightforward switch case condition in a Thymeleaf. Alright, let us see this example in action in Eclipse IDE. So look at here, in Eclipse IDE we have created Spring Boot project in previous video tutorial, and we have added Spring Boot Thymeleaf starter dependency in order to integrate Thymeleaf with Spring Boot. Now let's first take a look into if and unless attributes. So to demonstrate this, I have created a HTML page over here. Alright, and first we'll take a look at the Spring MVC controller. Alright, so look at here, I have created a user Pojo class. It has username, email and role instance variables, and here are the getter setter methods to access these private fields, and here is a constructor. And then I have created a user controller, Spring MVC controller. Inside that, here are two handler methods. Okay, so this is the handler method which demonstrates if and unless attributes. So here what I have done, basically created a list of users and I have added to the model, and I simply return if unless Thymeleaf template. Okay, and we will retrieve this list in a if and unless Thymeleaf template. here it is. Okay, so look at here, we are using th colon each attribute to iterate over a list of users, and here we are adding th colon if condition to just check whether a user role is admin. If user role is admin, then system will display update button, and similarly if user role is admin, then a user can see delete, and if user role is admin and the condition the attribute is th colon unless, then user can able to see view button. Or it's pretty simple. And again, th colon unless is a negativeness of if condition, so this condition should false in case of th colon unless, and all the users can able to, the user which don't have admin role can see a view button. Alright, it's pretty simple example. And look at here the switch case condition. So this is the Thymeleaf template I have created to demonstrate a switch case condition in a Thymeleaf. And to demonstrate this, I have added a method handler over here. So I have just created a user object with a role admin, and I have added this user object to the model, and I have just returned switch case Thymeleaf template. This is the switch case Thymeleaf template. Inside that we get a user object using Thymeleaf expression, and here in a switch case I am just checking whether a role, user role is admin, then I can display this paragraph, and if the user role is manager, and then I can display a manager paragraph. If user role is guest, then I can able to display this paragraph. Alright, if this condition doesn't match, then it will execute this default condition. Okay, so look at here, this is the default case. Star, you need to mention a star over here, it means that it is a default case. So this is pretty simple switch case structure in a Thymeleaf. If you are familiar with the Java switch case structure, then it is very easy for you to understand the switch case in Thymeleaf. Alright, let's see the demo of this example. So let's quickly run the Spring Boot project and let us see the demo. I have already started Spring Boot project. Let's open a browser and let's access these method handlers. Let me just copy this. So if I hit this URL in a browser, then this will call this method handler, and this method handler will just return a if unless HTML page, and this HTML page will be rendered on a browser. Alright, let's switch to the browser now. In a browser, just type localhost :8080 / and if -unless. So look at here, Ramesh is the user who have admin role, hence user can able to see update and delete button, and other users who don't have role admin role, hence they can able to see only view button. Alright, so look at here, Ramesh user only have admin role, and other two users Tom and John don't have admin role, so they simply have a user role, hence they don't see update and delete button. Alright, now let us see the switch case demo. Let me copy this URL and go back to the browser, and in a browser just give switch case. So look at here, Ramesh is a admin user, so if the user is admin, then this will get populated. Alright, for example, so look at here, Ramesh is admin, so in a switch case template this paragraph is printed. Alright, so if role is admin, then this case will match and this paragraph is printed on a browser. So look at here, okay, the username and the paragraph. Alright guys, I hope you understood how to use if and unless attributes as well as switch case attributes in Thymeleaf. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.